Sometimes when you're on the road a lot, you just get really homesick. And it was that feeling that led Heather Pierson to write her song, Ain't Gotten Around.
I'll tell you why I hide myself away in these mountains. 'Cause the world is full of things that I don't need.
But how can you tell if there's really something there when you've written a song? Well, the only sure way is to try playing it for some people, so that's what she did.
Whenever I try out a new song, there's always a little bit of, I wonder if they're going to like it.
More about how the song was written and how people have reacted to it in this week's episode of Tell Me About Your Song. Hello and welcome to Tell Me About Your Song, the podcast where I talk to musicians and songwriters about a song they've written. I'm recording this at the Northeast Regional Folk Alliance Conference, and I appreciate my guest taking time out of her busy NERFA schedule to talk to me. My guest is Heather Pierson, and the song that she'll be talking about is named Ain't Gotten Around, and it's from her album Still She Will Fly. So where would you like to start with the song, Heather?
I grew up in a very, very small town in Maine. There were like 500 people in the town I grew up in. And I took piano lessons from the same woman in town that everybody took piano lessons from. She was a sweet, wonderful woman, and grew up taking lessons from her and singing in the church choir. And that was all the musical training I ever had.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I lived in a few different places in Maine, and then I moved to New Hampshire about 6 years ago. I was down in New Orleans for a few weeks, staying at a campground in a camper. And as much as I love the city of New Orleans, there was one day I was feeling very homesick for the mountains of New Hampshire where I live. And I took my guitar out to the picnic table, and it was a very, very hot, very muggy summer afternoon. And the song just kind of fell out of my brain in a couple hours. I was thinking about old Appalachia, the women of Appalachia who put their roots down in the mountains and just never left. And so I was trying to write a song from that perspective. And I do sometimes wonder if I'll be one of those women myself. My approach with the guitar is sort of exploratory, just because I'm not as fluent on the guitar, I guess you could say, as I am on the piano. When I'm at the piano, there's more ways for me to get distracted because I have more of a knowledge of the instrument, so I can go this way or that way. And writing songs on the guitar really kind of narrows my focus. It takes more discipline for me because of the number of hours in my life that I've played the two instruments. And now, in the last year, I've started writing songs on the tenor banjo, which is a new adventure for me. And in fact, on Still She Will Fly, there's one song that I wrote on the tenor banjo that appears on there.
You say that he's a scoundrel. You say he's a ne'er-do-well. Oh, mama, you don't know him the way I do.
So that's another exciting sort of sidetrack. But a lot of that is the New Orleans influence, the Dixieland, trad jazz, old string band kind of sound.
Oh, mama.
I think I'm just a kid that just doesn't know who she wants to be when she grows up.
You say that I could do better, but there's plenty of fish in the sea. Oh, mama.
Sometimes I write a melody and don't have any words yet, or sometimes I'll write a chord progression and I don't have a melody for it. This was one of those rare instances where I started playing those chords in the intro.
Yeah.
I just kept playing those over and over and over and over until I got the idea for the first verse.
Another clear morning.
And then I remember I had the first verse. I hadn't really gotten to the chorus yet because I wasn't sure where to go. And then I went to that 3 chord, and then it just opened up the ideas.
I've seen more than most. I'll tell you.
And then I put the guitar down for a while. And once I had the melody, I just kind of sung the melody to myself. And then the rest of the poetry just kind of came that afternoon. That doesn't happen often like that. When I performed at the Ossipee Valley Music Festival last year, we had just started performing this song live because I had just written it. Whenever I try out a new song in front of any audience, large or small, there's always a little bit of, I wonder if they're going to like it,
Mm-hmm.
And this man approached me and he said, that's one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. And he said, I have to have that song. He said, I feel like that's my theme song. And sure enough, I kept in touch with him. And as soon as it was available, he ordered it and wrote to me and he loved it. So that was a really powerful connection. But when he said that he felt like I wrote his theme song, I thought, wow. I've had a lot of people come up to me and they really connect with the song, and they connect with it in different ways. Some people will say, oh, that's such a beautiful song, and you're right, like living in the mountains, that's the way to be, and this is, and they're content. And then I hear from other people who hear that longing, that hear that, yeah, but there's so much more outside of this valley or this beyond this ridge or whatever. And they feel the heartache that's certainly present in the song. So it's just fun to explore it, especially with, with you. And you certainly have your interpretation, and everyone does. I mean, that's what one of the vagaries of songwriting and performing is just the songs just take on a life of their own.
Another clear morning, another bluebird sky.
One of the images that caught my attention was the bluebird sky.
That's something that I picked up. I don't remember who I heard first say that it's a bluebird day or it's a bluebird sky. Like in the wintertime when it's just so blue and there are absolutely no clouds and it's just this color of blue that I'm not a visual artist, so I don't know what color it is. But when I think of bluebird day or bluebird sky, I just think of that beautiful, just crystal blue and there's not a single speck of a cloud anywhere. That's a bluebird sky.
There's a cheerfulness to the song, which I think is consistent through it, but then there are also these little mournful chords and touches to it.
Well, the song's in C, and that chord is an E7.
I'll tell you why
So it's the 3, and it just opens right up to the minor 6 chord, just really, really nicely. The chords like that, I try to use them sparingly. Like I try to use a progression that sounds or feels somewhat familiar, maybe takes a couple little turns you weren't expecting. But chords like that, I only use it in those moments just to try to set up the emotional response where she says,
I'll tell you why I hide myself away in these mountains.
It just kind of sets up the emotion of the moment. So I guess to use chords like that, they're a little more dramatic. I think it's best to use them sparingly.
So one of the things that I always appreciate in a song is the thing where the chorus is a little bit different each time.
Well, that is something I aim to do in my songwriting, and not just in this song, but in other songs. I really enjoy there being one line that kind of stays the same, and then you just kind of build different ideas around that. I enjoy puzzles.
Yeah.
It wasn't originally what I wanted to do with the song, but it just sort of wrote itself. There were more ideas that were wanting to be expressed. And so I just kind of worked them in that way rather than into the verses.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how songwriting is that way, that the song, it just takes on a life of its own. Once the seed is planted.
Yeah. Did you write them in that order and that was just the order that they came to you, or did you swap things around?
I'm almost certain that that first chorus with the ridge,
I'll tell you why I hide myself away in these mountains, 'cause there's a whole world of hurt beyond that ridge. I'm sure
that was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to kind of keep with that because the character in the song was someone that to me was a little bit heartbroken, had maybe ventured out into the world and didn't like what she saw, and so wanted to stay in sort of the safety. But then I didn't want to belabor that too much. I wanted to kind of put a little more life into it because obviously the woman in the song, I was picturing her as a much older woman that had seen all she wanted to see and was happy staying where she was. There were just more things to say.
I'll tell you why I hide myself away in these mountains, 'cause the world is full of things that I don't need. I'm sure the land out there is fertile, and I'm sure the grass is green, but I just ain't gotten around to planting those seeds. No, I just ain't gotten around.
And then after the first verse, at the beginning of every verse in the chorus, it sort of pauses.
The old moon is rising and all the chores are done.
Because it was really more about what's being said and sung in that moment rather than what's happening with the music. Because it's really, she's just taking the time to just say, look, this is why I stay here. So it's just like, okay, focus on this. And then the rest comes after.
Well, I ain't much for drama. I've heard it all before, and I don't wear my heart up on my sleeve.
I think she's just someone that calls it like she sees it. She doesn't have time for gossip and whatnot. She likes a simple life.
Sure.
And then in the middle, I did something that I have done in other songs where I'll just use a totally different progression with no lyrics when the 3-part harmonies come in, just to kind of give it somewhere else to go, to kind of give it that dream quality, where she eventually says, I just ain't gotten around to having those dreams.
That big old moon is rising and all the chores are done. My belly's full and the fire's dying down. My eyes are growing heavy and the whiskey's got my tongue. It's time to sleep till that sun comes back around. I'll tell you why I hide myself away in these mountains, 'cause the world ain't exactly how it seems. I'm sure some folks would tell you different, and I reckon it might be true, but I just ain't gotten around to having those dreams. No, I just ain't gotten around to having those dreams.
But, it's funny. She says I ain't gotten around to having those dreams, but I think she kind of did, and she got her heart broken in some way. And so she's just kind of given up on certain things, but she's happy where she is. So I like to think of the bridge sequence in the middle with the vocal harmonies without words as sort of that dream where she's thinking about, what could have been or what should have been.
But then at the end of the day, you just sort of get on with what you're doing.
Right. Just let the days coast.
Yeah. Does sound pretty nice. Letting the days coast.
Yeah. I think that's what she tells people.
Right.
That's what she tells people. Like, oh, I don't need that big city life. And I don't need, she says the world is full of things that I don't need.
Right.
I don't need those things. And I think maybe she's consigned herself to that, but there's still that small part of her that is wondering, oh, what if? My friend Pat Chandler, who's a very gifted painter who lives in Portland, Maine, she had done the cover art for me for my Motherless Child record. And I was looking at her website, just wanted to enjoy some of her paintings. And I saw this painting called Rumford Hills, which was a painting she had done in Maine. And the moment I saw it, I thought, that's the image that I have in mind. And I hadn't seen the painting before. It was almost spot on, the feeling that I have when I sing that song and when I sing Still She Will Fly. And I asked her, I said, we're putting together this EP. Can I use this painting for the cover art? And she said, absolutely. Not often that kind of serendipity happens.
Yeah.
And I'm just so fortunate to have really talented friends that let me use their artwork. So that's great. I think she's at chandlerfineart.com. And she's got some beautiful landscape art and portraits, and she's a very, very talented lady.
That's great. Yeah, I always put together show notes that I post online, and I'll link to that.
Great.
When you took the song to your band, do you have specific parts that you wanted them to play, or do people develop their own thing? Or
Well, in the trio, Sean just plays bass. So his role is always easy in the sense he knows what instrument he's going to play. Davey's role is a little more challenging for him and for me because he plays so many instruments. He plays dobro, he plays mandolin, he plays fiddle, he plays cornet, he plays guitar. He's a beautiful singer. So whenever I do write a new song and bring it to the trio, one of the challenges always, what's Davey going to play on the song? What fits the song best? When I was writing this song, I definitely heard dobro or fiddle. I just heard a little bit more of a mournful kind of sound. I mean, for this song, that choice was pretty easy, but sometimes the choice isn't so easy. I play a lot of jazz, a lot of blues when I play piano, and so a lot of that lends itself well to the cornet, but also to the fiddle and to the guitar. And I think Davey is a lot like me in the sense that he doesn't know what he wants to be when he grows up either. That's why he plays so many instruments.
Right.
I remember when I wrote this particular song, Davey was home in Maine and Sean and I were in New Orleans. And so Sean already got a head start on getting to know the song. So I recorded it on my phone. I sent it to Davey. And within an hour, he wrote back, "Nice song," with like 6 exclamation points. Like, this is great. So then once we got home, we got together and I told him what my vision for the song was. And so we worked it out.
If people want to hear more of your music, what should they do?
They should go to heatherpearson.com. That's where you can find relevant social media, YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and all of those things, and a blog that I post to occasionally.
And you do a certain amount of touring, right?
I do, yeah. Mostly up in the Northeast. We've been getting down into the Southeast as well. We just toured in North Carolina. We'll be in Florida in January for a week, which is a great place to be in January. And I'll be in the Midwest in February and then back up in the Northeast in March.
And those show dates and things will also be on the website?
Yep.
My own music, if people are interested, they can find it at music.jwgh.org. And I also have a website for this series as a whole at tellmeaboutyoursong.com. You can go there and you can subscribe in iTunes or Stitcher. And if you enjoy this episode and you know someone who you think would enjoy it, please let them know and spread the word. And for now, we're going to go out and listen to the song we've been talking about, Heather Pierson's Ain't Gotten Around. Thanks for listening.
Another clear morning, another bluebird sky, another day of letting things coast. I've heard my share of laughter and all the tears I've cried. I'm quite sure that I've seen more than most. I'll tell you why I hide myself away in these mountains, 'cause there's a whole world of hurt beyond that ridge. I'm sure some folks out there are happy, and I'm sure they'd mean me well, but I just ain't gotten around to building that bridge. No, I just ain't gotten around to building that bridge. I ain't much for drama, I've heard it all before, and I don't wear my heart up on my sleeve. With these four walls around me and all that beauty at my door, how in heaven's name could I ever leave? I'll tell you why I hide myself away in these mountains, 'cause the world is full of things that I don't need. I'm sure the land out there is fertile, and I'm sure the grass is green, but I just ain't gotten around to planting those seeds. No, I just ain't gotten around to planting those seeds. That big old moon is rising, and all the chores are done. My belly's full and the fire's dying down. My eyes are growing heavy, and the whiskey's got my tongue. It's time to sleep till that sun comes back around. I'll tell you why I hide myself away in these mountains, 'cause the world ain't exactly how it seems. I'm sure some folks would tell you different, and I reckon it might be true, but I just ain't gotten around to having those dreams. No, I just ain't gotten around to having those dreams.
Thank you.
Well, I really appreciate you talking to me about it. And I also just want to say, like, one of the nice things about this conference, you know, at NERFA is like just sort of things that you just kind of discover. You just kind of wander across because there's music everywhere. So And so last night, I was up here in my dank little room in the hotel, and then I went down and I'm like, do I want to go see the DJ showcases? I don't know if there just seems to be too many people in there. And so I just kind of wandered around. And then you and your bass player were playing Blue Rondo a la Turk.
Yes.
And I didn't recognize your picture or anything. It was just like, oh my God, this is just like delightful thing happening in the corner. So that was a really nice moment for me. And so I appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm always grateful when any kind of jazz is welcome at a Folk Alliance conference.
Yeah.
Everybody has sort of welcomed me, the jazz / whatever I am person into the fold. And it's great. I mean, folk, what is that quote? I think it was Louis Armstrong.
Right. Says, I've never seen
all music is folk music. I've never seen a horse try to sing or something like that. Yeah.